October is red, the choir of Norwich School will sing. During their first piece, a poppy will be planted in memory of Nurse Edith Cowell, and a poppy will be planted on behalf of Norwich School, the school foreman, in whose cathedral grounds Nurse Cowell is buried. Roll of Honour, 13th of October. Nurse Edith Louisa Cowell. Sergeant Arthur Becklake, London Regiment. Private Peter McCulloch McCall, Royal Scots. Rifleman Charles Allen, Rifle Brigade. Rifleman Charles Arthur, London Regiment, Queen Victoria's Rifles. Squadron Corporal Major John George Attenborough, 1st Life Guards. Second Lieutenant Henry Burgess Baines, Royal Field Artillery. Rifleman Ernest Wilfred Baldwin, London Regiment, London Rifle Brigade. Trooper George Ernest Barnes, Household Battalion. Corporal Herbert Henry Bayliss, Wiltshire Regiment. Rifleman Lauriston Percival Edward Bell, London Regiment, Queen's Westminster Rifles. Private Harvey Kempt Bissett, Canadian Infantry. Captain Roger Hendry Bodger, Indian Army Reserve of Officers. Second Lieutenant William Greatbatch Boxall, London Regiment. Private Arthur Jesse George Bradford, Australian Infantry. Sergeant Frederick William Brown, London Regiment, London Rifle Brigade. Private Percy George Brennan, Royal Berkshire Regiment. Lance Corporal Ernest Louis X. Eric Rostinovich, South Staffordshire Regiment. Rifleman Eric Lewis Shuttleworth Brown, New Zealand Rifle Brigade. Rifleman George Frederick Bryant, Royal Irish Rifles. Rifleman Clifford Hugh Butcher, London Regiment, London Rifle Brigade. Rifleman Sidney Wilfrid Byford, London Regiment, London Rifle Brigade. Lance Corporal George Spencer Campbell, Machine Gun Corps Infantry. Private Charles Branch Clark, Canadian Infantry. Private Charles Arthur Clark, London Regiment. Lieutenant Frank Clark, Royal Navy. Private Harry Douglas Clark, Royal Army Service. Private Cecil Herbert Cox, London Regiment, Royal Fusiliers. Corporal Frank Collins, Canadian Infantry. Rifleman Hubert Pomeroy Cox, London Regiment, Queen's Westminster Rifles. Private Basil Richard Cross, Royal Warwickshire Regiment. Second Lieutenant Tom Rutherford Cross, Special List, Military Mission. Sergeant Frederick Charles Cunningham, London Regiment, Royal Fusiliers. Lance Corporal Frank Charles Day, London Regiment, London Irish Rifles. Private Henry John Dukers, London Regiment. Rifleman Harold Reginald Dunn, London Regiment, London Irish Rifles. Private Thomas Geary, London Regiment. Gunner Cyril Gilbert, Royal Field Artillery. Private Philip Claude Gill, Duke of Cornwall's Light Infantry. Private Alexander Gordon, London Regiment, London Scottish. Private Robert Godfrey Grant, South African Infantry. Corporal Ernest Gray, Gloucestershire Regiment. Rifleman Stanley Hall, London Regiment, Queen's Westminster Rifles. Second Lieutenant William Gregory Harris, Gloucestershire Regiment. Rifleman Harold Edmund Hart, London Regiment, London Rifle Brigade. Rifleman Cecil Alfred John Hawes, London Regiment, 1st Surrey Rifles. Lance Corporal Thomas Thorpe Henderson, London Regiment, Queen Victoria's Rifles. Rifleman John Robert Hill, Rifle Brigade. Lance Corporal Percy Gordon Hill, London Regiment, 1st Surrey Rifles. Second Lieutenant Thomas Hooton Hill, Bedfordshire Regiment. Sergeant George Fritz Hingston, Royal Sussex Regiment. Rifleman Reginald James Hollingworth, London Regiment, London Rifle Brigade. Private Frank William Byrne Hurley, Northamptonshire Regiment. Corporal Frank Charles Jackman, London Regiment, London Irish Rifles. Private Percy William James, London Regiment. Rifleman John Matthias Lamb, London Regiment, Queen's Westminster Rifles. Rifleman Thomas Bayliss Lay, Rifle Brigade. Private Thomas Gilbert Lee, London Regiment, London Scottish. Private Charles William Lilly, Royal Welsh Fusiliers. Corporal Alfred Linden, London Regiment. Rifleman Stanley Ernest Linforth, London Regiment, London Rifle Brigade. Private Arthur William Longmore, Royal Army Medical Corps. Rifleman Clarence Percy John Lucas, King's Royal Rifle Corps. Second Lieutenant Claude Edward Lyon, Royal Field Artillery. Sergeant John Henry Mackett, Wiltshire Regiment. Major Alfred Frank Mantle, Canadian Infantry. Rifleman George Wilfred Frederick Marks, King's Royal Riflemen. Rifleman Charles Frederick Marsden, London Regiment, 1st Surrey Rifles. Corporal Cecil John Meek, Norfolk Regiment. Bombardier John Stuart Merritt, Royal Field Artillery. Second Lieutenant Reginald Minty, Rifle Brigade. Rifleman John Reginald Mudd, London Regiment, Queen Victoria's Rifles. Rifleman George Stanley Napper, London Regiment, Queen's Westminster Rifles. Private Alan Edmund Ninnis, the Buffs, East Kent Regiment. Corporal James Hooper Dawson Nish, Canadian Infantry. Lance Corporal Cuthbert Adams, Somerset Light Infantry. Private Alan Parsons, London Regiment. Corporal William Parsons, London Regiment, Queen Victoria's Rifles. Gunner Harold Eric Lancelot Pendrin, Royal Field Artillery. Private William Henry Plum, Royal Sussex Regiment. Lance Corporal George Evan Pratt, London Regiment. Able Seaman Percy Arthur Pritchett, Royal Naval Volunteer Reserve. Gunner Cecil Douglas Quixley, Royal Field Artillery. Private David Horace Rapley, Canadian Infantry. Sergeant John Rice, Essex Regiment. Gunner Percy Alvin Robbins, Royal Field Artillery. Private Robert Morris Roberts, Wiltshire Regiment. Rifleman Reginald Percival Robinson, London Regiment, Queen's Westminster Rifles. Rifleman Eric Exton Rumble, London Regiment, 1st Surrey Rifles. Private John Ernest Salter, Suffolk Regiment. Rifleman Ernest Burnaby Sr., London Regiment, Queen's Westminster Rifles. Second Lieutenant William Bruce Seymour Ure, Royal Fusiliers. Corporal Robert Montague Charland, Royal Horse Artillery. Second Lieutenant James Clement Smith, Royal Fusiliers. Private Norman Dickerson Smith, Royal Fusiliers. Lance Corporal Charles Edward Soper, London Regiment, Royal Fusiliers. Rifleman Ernest Alfred Howard Kaiji Sprang, London Regiment. Able Seaman George James Stabbett, Royal Naval Volunteer Reserve. Private Leonard Stanley Steele, Royal Fusiliers. Sergeant Francis Horatio Stepp, London Regiment, Queen's Westminster Rifles. Private George Hubert Stribling, London Regiment, Prince of Wales's own Civil Service Rifles. Company Sergeant Major Hugh Hyde Sutton, Tank Corps. Private Bertram Taverner Tattle, London Regiment. Corporal William Ambrose Nathaniel Townsend, Middlesex Regiment. Regimental Sergeant Major Edward Osmond Tucker, Royal Field Artillery. Private Raymond William Valance, Canadian Infantry. Private Cyril Percy Alfred Vernon, Bedfordshire Regiment. Rifleman Thomas Henry Vernon, London Regiment, City of London Rifles. Second Lieutenant Robert Warner, York and Lancaster Regiment. Lieutenant Thomas Fitch-Williams, Royal Garrison Artillery. Lance Corporal Henry Clifford Way, Middlesex Regiment. Private Reginald Arthur James Wilkins, Australian Infantry. Rifleman Ernest George Willimot, London Regiment, London Rifle Brigade. Private Charles Nottingham Wilson, London Regiment. Private William Edgar Yates, King's Shropshire Light Infantry. Private Charles Henry White, Royal Berkshire Regiment. Private Leonard Stanley King, Royal Irish Fusiliers. Private Jonathan Smithhurst Davy, Sherwood Foresters, Notts and Derby Regiment. Private M. Little, Royal Scots. Private James Little, Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders. Private William Little, King's Own Scottish Borderers. Private Frederick Side, King's Own, Royal Lancaster Regiment. Pioneer William Fossey, Royal Engineers. Private Edward Vernon McKenna, Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders. Lieutenant Harold William Walton, Yorkshire Regiment. Private S. Lansborough, Royal Scots. Bombardier H.J. MacDonough, Royal Field Artillery. Rifleman E.T. Smith, Rifle Brigade. Company Sergeant Major W. Gorin, Manchester Regiment. Rifleman A.W. Hughes, King's Royal Rifle Corps. Rifleman E.J. Iveson, the King's Liverpool Regiment. Private William Laughlin, Royal Fusiliers. Private A. Lawless, Lincolnshire Regiment. President, Private J. Heseltine, Lancashire Fusiliers. Private J. Florence, Gordon Highlanders. Sapper F. Teal, Royal Engineers. Private J. Mack, Suffolk Regiment. Private F. L. Horton, Essex Regiment. Private G. Scotney, Royal Marine Light Infantry. Private R. J. C. Bradley, Royal Marine Light Infantry. Private R. N. Downs, Cheshire Regiment. Private W. Evans, Manchester Regiment. Private T. Drury, South Staffordshire Regiment. Rifleman S. Burton, London Regiment, Finsbury Rifles. Sergeant C.T. T, Middlesex Regiment. Gunner J.T. Baker, Royal Field Artillery. Lance Corporal A.E.T., Middlesex Regiment. Private G. Ewing, Machine Gun Corps Infantry. Private W. Lind, Royal Berkshire Regiment. Private H. Cooper, Royal Fusiliers. Corporal W. J. Cooper, Machine Gun Corps Infantry. Rifleman A. J. Cooper, the King's Liverpool Regiment. Gunner C. D. Moore, Canadian Garrison Artillery. Private J. C. Coleman, East Surrey Regiment. Private C. Hardiment, Northamptonshire Regiment. Private A. Leversley, Leicestershire Regiment. Gunner C. L. Thornton, Royal Garrison Artillery. Private W. J. Polglaze, Australian Infantry. Private C. Selby, West Yorkshire Regiment, Princess of Wales's own. Major A. W. Keane, Royal Air Force. Gunner W. J. Dabson, Royal Garrison Artillery. Lance Corporal A. Hooper, Welsh Guards. Gunner T. J. Coombe, Royal Field Artillery. Private J. J. Lister, King's Own Yorkshire Light Infantry. Private A. E. Summers, Gloucestershire Regiment. Company Sergeant Major A. Mosley, South Staffordshire Regiment. Private J. Corrigan, Northumberland Fusiliers. Quartermaster Sergeant J. H. Keane, Royal Garrison Artillery. Sapper T. H. Broadbridge, Royal Engineers. Rifleman A. Ashford, Rifle Brigade. Private W. H. Neat, Middlesex Regiment. Private Ernest Moore, Leicestershire Regiment. Private E. D. Evans, Welsh Regiment. Private W. F. Perry, London Regiment, Royal Fusiliers. Private L. F. C. Thompson, Middlesex Regiment. Private J. T. Duckett, York and Lancaster Regiment. Private D. Marshall, Black Watch, Royal Highlanders. Private H. A. Burns, London Regiment, Royal Fusiliers. Private J. J. Braddock, Middlesex Regiment. Battery Sergeant Major T. L. Dallimore, Royal Field Artillery. Private B. G. Dallimore, Royal Army Medical Corps. Second Lieutenant A. C. F. Andrews, London Regiment, Royal Fusiliers. Private C. A. Baring, Australian Imperial Force. Second Lieutenant Nigel B. Babin, the Essex Regiment. Lieutenant Charles Zaragoza de la Boer Beresford, Northamptonshire Regiment. Captain V. W. Blythe, Royal Flying Corps. Second Lieutenant J.W.C. Bolland, Norfolk Regiment. Captain Charles Francis Boyer, Sherwood Foresters, Notts and Derby Regiment. Second Lieutenant C.H. Butler, Black Watch, Royal Highlanders. Captain M.E.E. Burton Fanning, the Royal Marines. Private H. Chapin, Royal Army Medical Corps. Captain T.A.K. Cubitt, Norfolk Regiment. Captain F.W. Holdenstein, Royal Engineers. Lieutenant D.W.R. Hall, Royal Marine Light Infantry. Second Lieutenant A.E. Aiken, Royal Flying Corps. Major C.F. Jarrett, the Machine Gun Corps. Flight Commander C.H. Keefe, Royal Flying Corps. Second Lieutenant H.G.P. Lowe, Royal Flying Corps. Major Frederick Manor Smith, Gurkha Rifles. Captain W.V. Morgan, Norfolk Regiment. Lieutenant Christopher Morse, Royal Engineers. Captain E.V. Morse, the Buffs, East Kent Regiment. Second Lieutenant A.C. Peirce, Middlesex Regiment. Second Lieutenant Henry M. Scott Pillow, Royal Flying Corps. Lieutenant W. Sheepshanks, King's Royal Rifles. Lieutenant Tom Pierce Griffin Stone, Royal Field Artillery. Captain Ralph W. Thurger, Norfolk Regiment. Private Jack Wells, London Regiment, Artists' Rifles. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember.